we are passing the input, whatever the line input will be, we are passing it and parsing it into integer. And so we will, I am going to copy this thing here. So println account folder name. So that will be stored into account folder name. And we don't need to parse that input. So we are keeping that input into next line itself, that is into string format. Okay. Now here, third will be account balance. Okay. So यहाँ पे I am using initial balance. Initial balance, and we are going to store that into balance. Declare it into double. So we will parse that particular value into double. So use double class, double classes, parse double method instead of integer. You can use parse double method. Okay. And the input we are going to take using next line itself. So we have taken all the inputs. Now using all these inputs, we will initialize this account object, which we have declared. So we will use account is equals to new. Here you can use parameterized constructor or default constructor and use the setter methods as well. Whatever you need. I'm going to use here the parameterized constructor to initialize this account object. Now this account object, we are going to store into the created account array. This is the name of the accounts array. We will simply use that accounts array, which is a static, and here this static member we are accessing from static method itself. Okay, so we can give the data to be stored at given index. So we have to mention the index number also. So for index, we have already declared the account array and index variable, which is static, which is we have initialized this to 0, right? So we are using this index variable itself, and this index variable will be incrementing. That is a post increment. That means we have initialized the index variable value to 0. So first account object will be stored at the 0th index. Next time the value will be incremented, and the next object, next data will be stored in the at the next index. Okay, so that is why we have used this index as a static. ठीक है, क्योंकि इसको एक ही बार मेमोरी एलोकेशन होने चाहिए, एंड दैट इज नीड्स टू बी क्रिएटेड और इंक्रीमेंटेड एट वंस. ठीक है, एक बार ही इंक्रीमेंटेशन होना चाहिए. एक बार ही मतलब हर एक ऑब्जेक्ट के हिसाब से, अलग अलग ऑब्जेक्ट्स के हिसाब से मेमोरी एलोकेशन अलग अलग रहेगा इंडेक्स का. तो फिर उस टाइम आपको समझ में नहीं आएगा कि कौन से ऑब्जेक्ट के लिए इंडेक्स की वेरिएबल की वैल्यू चेंज हो रही है. दैट shouldn't happen. That's why we have declared this index variable जो एक ही है, which is a shared among all the objects. तो एक ही index variable की value change होती रहेगी. Okay. Now we will display one proper message to the user that account is opened. Okay. This message is mostly we give a proper messages, whether it will be the error messages or success messages, because the user is relied on your output messages, right? If you're creating or email address and all things, you have done the registration and you are not getting that, whether you have registered it successfully or not. So you may get confused, right? Similarly, this application or any application, whenever you are going to create any application, make sure that the input messages as well as output messages are clear and which is understandable by every user. Okay. Now this is a case one. When you are using the arrays, it is nothing but a temporary memory. So the data, when you are going to execute this application, that time whatever the data you are going to store into that array, that gets stored. After execution completes, it removes all the things, it will release the memory, okay, using garbage collection. So the data is storing here is nothing but a temporary storage. Okay, so we will complete all these operations first and then we will execute one time. So the second is deposit money. We have already here taken the initial balance, right? So initial balance we have stored into the account and then we are going to deposit the money. But to deposit the money, we need to check in which account the user wants to deposit, right? So we are going to take again, first statement should be user input to take the account number. Here I am writing depositing money. Okay, so here we are taking first account number in which you want to perform deposit. Enter account number for deposit. Okay, after taking the account number, first you need to do the search operation, whether that account number is present in your accounts array or not. If it is present, then only we are going to show or perform the deposit operation, otherwise not, right? So to do that, we will simply do one thing. We have to iterate over complete application, your array basically. So here we will first check. To perform the search operation, we will write down a separate method basically. Okay. As this is a static method, we have to create static method itself. So after, you can write after completion of main method, this is the main method. Okay, after completion of main method, you can write another method. So this method is a private method, should be accessible only within this account demo. Okay, private. It will return the account object. So private account, get account or search account. Based on account number, which is in the integer format. Okay. So here we are going to perform this method. We are going to call every time to perform all these operations for deposit, withdraw, balance, and account details, etc. Okay, for all these methods or operations, we need to first check whether that account is present or not. Okay, so to perform this, we will simply create one account object, account, which is initialized to null. Okay, and this account object I am going to return from this method. Okay, so basically we are going to perform search operation. So to perform the search operation, we will iterate over this array using normal integer I, accounts array dot length and I plus plus. Okay, but instead of this accounts array dot length, we have given the maximum of 10 size, right? But we are using one static variable index to increase the indexes and store the data. So instead of this, we will use index itself to reduce the iterations. Okay. Now here index, after index, we will search using if. Okay. Now you have to check each and every account object present in the array. Okay. So first we will check here if the input account number जो हमें इनपुट मिल रहा है यहाँ पे to this method is equal to accounts array ith index. That means the account object present at ith index. From that we have to retrieve the account number. So here we are going to use get account number method. You know that get method, what it will do? It will return the account number, right? Because account number is basically private in account class. So get account number, which is a public method. This method returns the account number. So which account number this method is going to return? Then nothing but the account object present in this array at ith index. Ith index is nothing but it is going to increment from 0 to whatever the value of the index variable will be. Okay, so that is why we are first checking here account number, which is input. We are getting the input, and that is equal to with the account present at the ith index from accounts array. From that account object, we want to check only account number. That is why we are using here get account number method. Okay, now if this is equal, then we will initialize this account object with all the information of this particular account which is present at ith index. Okay, so to perform that, we will use account is equals to new account. I will show you the use of setter method now. Okay, so this is a default constructor I have used to initialize this account object, which is we have initialized to null first. Okay, now we will set all the details. Account dot set account number, which is nothing but the account number. Account dot set account holder name. So this account holder name will again we will get from this ith index. Okay, so you can do this way also. Get account holder name. Last one is account dot set balance accounts array of ith index dot get balance. Okay, this is a one way of doing using the setter methods and getter methods together. We are getting the information and we are setting it to this account object. Okay, so this is one way to perform this operation. Or we can do one more thing. You can replace this complete part. Rather than using the setter and getter method, you can directly set this account object is equals to directly accounts array of ith index object. That means we are copying all the details of this object into the account object. Okay, and here we are returning this account. So basically what happens here, this, if we are not getting any details, that means if this condition fails, we have not get any matching account number details in our array, then this object with null value will be returned as it is. If we are getting the details, we are setting that to account object, and the prepared or with the values, this object will be returned. Okay, so that is why we are using here null, and directly we are returning this account. Now we will call this method first. After taking the account number, we will call this method and pass the account number variable here to search it. It returns the account object itself. So we will store that into account object. I forgot to give the static because we are calling it from main method, which is a static. So we need to use the static here for the search account method. Okay, so we have searched. If we find out the details, so we have to give one more check here. That check will be if null is not equal to account, that means account is not null. Okay, if that account is not null, then only we will perform the deposit operation. Okay, to perform the deposit operation, again I will create one more method for deposit operation. So we will perform the deposit operation using a method. We will write down that method into account class itself. Before that, sorry. So here we will first take the input from the user, enter amount to deposit. After successfully finding out the account details, we will ask the user to enter the amount to deposit. We will save that into variable balance. Double dot parse double and sc dot next line to take the input from the user. Okay, after taking this balance, we will, so the account will have one more method, that is again the instance method. Okay, that method will be public void deposit. Okay, it will have one parameter, that is double balance. Okay. We will call this method using account object directly, account dot deposit, and we will pass this balance variable here. Okay, you can make this deposit as boolean also. Okay, because we can display the message whether the amount is deposited or not. So if you want, you can give the return type of this method boolean also. We will implement that method. System.out.println, I will display balance after deposit. Okay, so I want to check the balance after deposit for the same account. So what we will do, we will use one more method, that is a check balance, which is nothing but we are going to get the balance itself. Okay, so this return balance method we are going to use. Get balance method you can use, or you can write down any other balance also. Okay, whatever you require. Here we will call the method. I will explain the method. So first we will complete your deposit operation. Now what do you mean by deposit? How will you complete the deposit operation? Deposit means it is always addition, right? Whatever the current balance is, you have to add the balance which is we are getting as an input, correct? So that is why we will use one simple statement here, that is we are going to update our balance. Whose balance? Current object balance. That is why we are using this here. I am using shorthand operator. That means this dot balance is equal to this dot balance plus the deposit amount, that is balance variable. Okay, so it is nothing but going to update the current balance for current object, which is using this. This is a deposit operation. Now you can understand that how will you write the withdraw operation. How is the withdraw operation? Withdraw operation is nothing but deduction, right? Withdraw operation is nothing but deduction. How much balance you want to deduct? So it is nothing but we are updating our balance by deducting it, right? So you can change the variable also if you want to amount, so that it will be easy to understand. If you want, ठीक है? So मैंने यहाँ पे value change कर दिए to amount, right? Now get balance method we already have. We will simply use that here to call the account dot get balance, right? I will change this also. Instead of this balance variable, we will use amount itself. So we'll declare the double amount variable here. So we will get the balance after deposit. If this object has null value as a return, then we have to display proper message to the user. That is system.out.println, no account found, right? No account found for the given account number. If you want to append it, you can append the account number as well. So this is the deposit operation. Same operation you will perform for withdraw. Only thing here is we are going to change. The operation will be withdraw. Deposit. Instead of deposit, you need to add withdraw. Here, withdrawing money. After taking account number, searching the account number, same thing will happen. Here only we will change that how much amount you want to withdraw. That amount we are going to take from the user, and we will call the withdraw method, pass this amount and balance after withdraw, we will check. Okay, using get balance method itself. Okay, if we are not getting the same account details, then we will display no account found. Okay, same balance, we have already done this balance inquiry using the get balance method. You can directly use that. Okay, but to perform this get balance method, you again need to search the account also. So this thing will be called same for all the operations. Okay, if if the account number doesn't exist, you need to show the proper message to the user. This thing will not be there. Only we are going to display balance for the current account. Okay, if that account is not present, no account found message. Simple thing. For account details, again, we are performing the search operation itself, right? So here also, we need to take the user input. I'm changing the details, checking balance. Balance inquiry, we can say. Okay. Here, the last is account details. Enter account number for getting account details. After taking the input into account number, we will search the account. Same thing, we will check whether if that account object is null or not. If it is null, then we will display no account found. If it is not null, we will display account details are as follows. As follows, we have already included the toString method. That's why we will directly display account object. So we will get all the details. Okay, I will execute this so that we can test all the operations are working correctly or not. Sorry. We need to execute it on Java application. So first we will perform open account. So first option, I'm using open account. I'm giving some account number, account holder name, initial balance. Okay, account is opened. Okay, now I will again open one more account with some initial balance. Now I want to check account details first. Okay, so the option I am using is fifth option, account details, account number to search. So I am going to give 963. So we are getting all the details of 963, current balance and all, right? Again, I will check the account details for the first account which I have created, 456 account number. We are getting 456 account number details. Again, I will check for the account details. The account number I am going to use that is not present in our array. So we are getting the proper message that no account found, right? Now we will perform deposit money operation. So again, we have to give the account details, right? Account number. Once the account number is given, account is found, then only it will ask for depositing the money. So I am adding some amount. So balance after, current balance after entering, depositing. Okay. So you can check that here also. The 6371 was the previous account balance, and we have added 6453. You can add it, check it whether it is correct or not. Same, we will perform the withdraw operation. For withdrawing money, I will use another account, and I want to withdraw 1000 rupees. Okay, so your balance is this. Here you can add more checks also for in the deposit and withdraw operations for balance, current balance for withdraw operation basically. Okay, so this is all about all the operations, basic operations. So I want to check whether the current balance for account number 963 is 31323. Same, if I'll check for another account number which is not present, we are getting the proper message, no account found. Okay, all these operations are executing until and unless you will select the sixth operation, that is exit. जब तक आप exit नहीं select करते हो तब तक ये operations चलते रहेंगे, आपका execution चलता रहेगा, because we have used do while loop, and in the do while loop we have given the condition that operation value is not equal to 6. जब तक 6 नहीं आता है तब तक आपको execute करना है. Suppose you enter some wrong input, then you will get the default statement which we have given here, select correct operation, right? And जब तक आप 6 enter नहीं करते हो तब तक आपका execution start रहेगा. Now you can see I use 6 case to exit my application and the execution is stopped, program is terminated. Okay, so in this way you can complete this part, all these operations, deposit and withdraw operations. You can add more checks for withdrawing, because if you want to give some minimum amount, you want to check some minimum amount, you can do that into the withdraw method itself. Okay, if you want to check whether the balance is going into negative, then you can add that check also, that it shouldn't go into negative. If that is greater than 0, then only you can perform withdraw operation. That thing also you can add, that is the next thing in your program. Okay, so this is the basic, you can say one basic small application we have developed, banking application we have developed with using static array and static variable. सेम जो हमने एप्लीकेशन स्टार्ट किया था, एक मिनी प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट किया था, उसी में आप इसको भी ऐड कर सकते हो. I think we have started that project here into module 8, that is object array for book. Okay, so in the same thing you will perform the same manner. You can perform the add operation. I will tell you the update and delete operation later, but you can perform the add operation, get operation in the same way into this object array mini project. Any doubt? If you want to go through this, you can go through this example once, and then we will go forward with the next one. Here the important thing here is how will you add objects into array. Then you need to perform this search operation before completing or performing any task on that. Otherwise, it will not able to search that account details. It will throw an exception. That's why we always you check whether that account is present or not. Then only we will perform the operation. You have to try this on your own. Okay. Any doubt in this? Shall we go ahead? Okay, done. Shall we go ahead? Understood? Okay, so the next topic is we have completed your encapsulation part and we have completed one small project also for account details. Next is nested class. As I said, we can write a class inside another class or an interface. Okay, it holds the property of encapsulation. Why we write the basically in classes, nested classes? So if we want to protect the class from outside world, we create a class as nested. Okay, so that class is known as nested class. When we are creating any class in another class or interface, that class is known as nested class. We create it to protect that class from outside world or outside classes. Okay, we use the nested classes to logically group classes or interfaces in one place so that it can be more readable and maintainable. So it can access all the members of outer class, including private data members and methods. So if we are making any private data member, we can use that inside nested class. We can access it inside nested class because it is nothing but considered as a data member of the outer class. Okay, but outer class cannot access nested classes property directly. It must use object of nested class. We will directly see the example. So the syntax is like class. This is known as an outer class. Inside that we are writing one class that is known as nested class. Okay, there is a separate body of that nested class. There is a separate body for the outer class. You can access the outer class members directly into the nested class, but you cannot access nested class members directly into the outer class. If you want to access it, you need to use object of this class, nested class. Okay, so there are few types of nested classes. First one is the static nested class. Static nested class is nothing but a class with a static modifier. Okay, we can define that class as a static but we never define the outer class as static. We always use nested class as static. Okay, it cannot access outer class non-static members directly. It must use object of outer class. Static nested class can access only static members of outer class. Okay, so basically, as I said, static context, non-static context, we can access only static context of outer class into nested class. Second one is non-static nested classes. In the non-static nested classes, there are few more nested classes. Those are also known as non-static nested classes are known as inner classes. Okay, regular inner classes. Don't get confused. In nested classes, there are two types, static and non-static. Non-static nested classes are also known as inner classes. Okay, regular inner classes. The class directly inside another class, but not inside any block, is a member of that class. So first we will see one static class example. So in the same encapsulation, module 9, I am creating a new package. Name of the package I am using as nested classes. Okay. In this nested classes, first example we are going to learn first nested class. Okay. We will include the main method also. So in this nested class, in this nested class, example class, in this class, we will define one class that is, we can say, okay, not in this class, I will define differently so that you will understand. This class name is outer class. Okay, the class name is outer class. In this outer class, there are few suppose private members. Private string name, then private string email, and one static member also, static string institute is equals to, I'm giving value to it also. Okay, this is static variable. Now we can generate the, as these are private members, we can generate two getter setter methods for name and email. Only name and email I will generate the getter and setter methods because these two are private members. Okay. Now, after this, we will first define non-static inner class. Okay, that is known as regular inner class. Regular inner class or non-static nested class. Both are same. Okay. So here I am defining class as an inner class. Okay. This inner class will have its own member. Suppose the member is same, that is string name. Okay. This is again the string name. This string name and this string name is different. This is a member of outer class and this is a member of inner class. Okay, so you can define the same names also. No problem with that. You can define different names also. For example, I am adding here, suppose string address, that is a member of the inner class. Okay, this inner class is same as outer class. You can create constructors also. Like here I am creating one constructor, default constructor, and I'm assigning some value, default value to it. ABC is the name I have given for address. I am giving some value. Mumbai. Okay. So you can create public constructors also. Any same thing. For if you are making these as private, you can create getter setter methods also, toString method also, everything same as the any class. You can define basically one method also. So I'm defining here one method, that is a void display method, which is used to display the details, that is name is equals to name, variable value, and address is equals to address variable value. Okay, so this display method, this is again member of inner class. Okay, so basically you can write anything inside this inner class. Only the difference is you can directly access this outer class members here in the inner class, but you cannot access these members directly into this outer class. Okay, if you want to access these members, you need to create the object of this class. We will see that. First, we will define all these classes. Okay, this is known as regular inner class, non-static nested class. Okay, this is nothing but a member of outer class. Now we will see the next type of nested class, that is second type, static nested class. Static nested class. As I said, you can give the static non-access modifier to define a class. Suppose the name of this class is inner class 2. This is the static class. Okay. Say it will be same for as static members, जैसे static variable, methods, blocks है, वैसे ही इसका भी use है. Static class is again loaded at the class loading time. Memory will be allocated at the class loading time. It is shared resource. It is again memory only allocated only once. Okay, same thing will apply to the static class as well. So this static class will only access the static members of outer class. For example, we have created one static member, that is institute. We can access it here into the static class directly. So here I am going to create one method, void show. And in this show method, I want to access the members of the outer class and static member also. Okay. So I will display system.out.println. Name is equals to, you can directly access the outer class member. Okay. And institute is equals to institute. Now here, as this is a static class, here you can access it. I will add the email address here. Email, you can access the email variable directly in the regular nested class, that is a non-static, but this is a static nested class. So this name is instance variable and this institute is static variable, right? So you cannot access non-static member from static member. If you want to access it, you need to create the object of that class, right? So what we will do, I will show you how to use that also. So we will create one object of outer class. Here, O is equals to new outer class, and then you can access O dot name. You can access directly, though it is a private member. As this is a nested class, you can access it directly, or you can use getter method to access it. ठीक है. So अगर आपको नॉन स्टैटिक मेंबर्स एक्सेस करने हैं स्टैटिक क्लास में, तो आपको ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करना पड़ेगा, and then only you can access the instance variables. For the static members, you can access the members directly. अगर आपको यहाँ पे एड्रेस एक्सेस करना है from inner class, which is a regular inner class, then you can access it using again the object of inner class. Okay, but here we will create the object of inner class. Inner class I is equals to new inner class. Okay, but we cannot directly instantiate it. Okay, आपको directly initialization नहीं होगा, inner class को access नहीं मिलेगा. To get the access to the inner class और आपको initialize करना है object inner class का, you have to use outer class object. Okay, so here O dot new inner class, this is the syntax to create the object of inner class. Okay, this is the syntax of creating object of inner class. Inner class object creation. Remember that because we cannot access the inner class. So अगर आपको inner class का object create करना है, you have to use the outer class object because this inner class is member of outer class. So you have to use outer class object and then the constructor to call the inner class constructor. Okay, then you can access the address here or any member of that address is equals to your I dot address. Okay, so this is a basic syntax to access the inner class members, outer class members in a static class or in outside also. ठीक है, आप directly उसको access नहीं कर सकते. Now, if I want to call this show method of this inner class 2, I have to use outer class name dot inner class 2 name and then I will call show method because this is a static class and you know that static class we can access it by or any static member you can access it with the help of class name, right? So this is nothing but the inner class 2. Here I am creating one object is equals to new inner class 2 constructor we will call. Okay, now again here we cannot access it directly. To initialize the static class constructor, we have to use the outer class name. This is little bit difficult to understand. Okay, so here you have to use the outer class name. Then the inner class 2 constructor will be called and initialized. Then you can call the inner class dot show method. This is for static member. This is static nested class object creation. Creation and initialization. Okay, this is static nested classes. Then I will show you non-static, that is regular nested classes example. हमने तो ऊपर देखा भी है, फिर से मैं यहाँ पे आपको बताती हूँ. आउटर क्लास है, मैं आउटर क्लास का एक ऑब्जेक्ट क्रिएट करती हूँ. You can directly create the outer class object. You can display the details system.out.println. यहाँ पे अगर आपको नेम दिखाना है out.name get name क्योंकि प्राइवेट मेंबर है, राइट. देन ईमेल है out.get email. Here I have not created any constructor, so I will create one constructor, default constructor, and assign some default values just for your information. And email. ठीक है. So this is one example. So we have using default constructor of outer class. So वही information आपको यहाँ पे मिलेगी. Then we will create inner class object. Okay, directly inner class का object हम नहीं create कर सकते. So उसके लिए हमें same outer class का object use करना पड़ेगा. Access करना पड़ेगा inner class, outer class dot inner class. Okay, in this way you can create. यहाँ पे हमने directly लिया था because ये member है, static class भी है, लेकिन वो member है, that is why हम यहाँ पे उसको direct access कर सकते थे. But outside of the same class, इस class के outer class के बाहर अगर आपको access करना है तो outer class का member है, उसकी वजह से outer class का name आपको देना पड़ेगा. यहाँ पे मैं एक name देती हूँ inner class 2. Now, as I said, you have to use the name of the outer class dot new inner class. Sorry. Here you can use the already created object also, right? Out आप directly use कर सकते हो जो हमने already create किया था, या फिर आप new भी use कर सकते हो. Out dot new inner class object creation के लिए default constructor मैंने use किया, right? We have already defined the default constructor and we will directly call the display method using this object inner class 2 dot display. This is a one way. Okay, static को कैसे करना है वो तो मैंने already बताया आपको. This is a non-static और regular inner class object creation and initialization. Okay, another way is सेम तरीके से अगर आपको करना है तो आप, मैं यहाँ पे सपोज ऑब्जेक्ट नेम चेंज करती हूँ. अगर आपके पास ऑलरेडी क्रिएटेड ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं है आउटर क्लास का तो आप ये भी कर सकते हो, न्यू आउटर क्लास dot new inner class. That means we are creating both objects here directly and you're calling it this method, display method, using third object. I will execute this so that you will be able to understand the output. So first is the output from the show method, जहाँ पे हमने name from outer class access किया है, institute जो है वो आपका static member है, address जो है वो हमने inner class से access किया है. You can check here. This is a show method, right? Inner class member है. Then we have created outer class object and displayed the email and name using getter method. After that we have created inner class object जहाँ पे name default constructor के हिसाब से, address and email जो है वो आपका default constructor के हिसाब से आपका call होगा from outer class. Same details आपके third में भी है क्योंकि हमने details change नहीं किए हैं. You can set the details if you are having the members according to the accessibility. Suppose आपको देना है तो inner class 3 dot member is address. अगर आपको चेंज करना है तो आप चेंज कर सकते हो in this way. ठीक है, because इस मेंबर का हमने एक्सेसिबिलिटी डिफॉल्ट रखा है. ओके, these are not private. अगर ये प्राइवेट होते तो आपको गेटर सेटर मेथड से आप उसको सेट कर सकते हो. I will execute one more time so you can see the address value changed for third object. Clear? So this is static and non-static nested classes. Any doubt in this? This is our outer class, inner class. We have already seen this part. Okay. We are going to see the next type of inner classes, that is local inner classes, which are also known as non-static inner classes, but those are defined inside a method or a block of outer class. Any doubt in this example, understood the static and non-static inner classes. You can go through this example and then we will end our session for today. We will continue to in the next session with the next type of inner class. If you have any doubt, you can ask.
So to summarize, outer class variables can be accessed inside the inner class. Inner class variables cannot be accessed from the outer class.
Yes. To access those inner class variables, you need to create the object of inner class.
Okay.
And there are two different ways to create the object of inner classes based on whether it is non-static or static. To define the static inner classes, you can use this. So basically inner classes or nested classes, you can specify static non-access modifier to it, and non-static means if you are not using static keyword, then that is known as non-static. Okay, but you cannot use static keyword with outer class. Okay, the outer class shouldn't be static. Nested class is always static. Not always, but you can define static nested classes, but outer classes are never static. Okay, so if you are accessing within the same class, you can use this syntax to access the same inner classes objects. If you are accessing in another classes, you need to use these different syntaxes based on whether it is a static or non-static. The difference is here while initialization. This part is same, okay, for both, but the difference is here. Here we are using new keyword first, name of the outer class, and then the constructor of inner class if that is a static nested class. If it is a non-static nested class, then you have to use outer classes object first, then to initialize the inner classes constructor, you need to use the new keyword with inner class. This is the only difference here, where to use the new keyword and how to use it.
So can we create the constructors within the inner class or outer class, or is this the way like out dot new inner class?
No, you can create the inner classes constructors. We have created it, right? This is a default constructor we have created. Here in the static class, we have not created. So if you are not creating, then the compiler will create the default constructor. If you are creating the parameterized constructor, no problem, you can pass the parameters here. That is totally depend on you, what type of constructor you are creating. The difference is here. So when you are creating the object of static class, you have to use the new keyword first. To access the inner class constructor, you have to use the outer class name because it is a static. And you know that static members are accessible using class name. So you have to use the outer class name. Then the constructor call for the inner class. And if that is a non-static class, you can use the object of outer class and then you can call the inner class constructor. This is the one way, or if you have not created the outer class object, you can create it dynamically also in this way. So basically here we are calling outer class constructor, then we are initializing inner class constructor as well. So when you are using new keyword with the inner classes, that means you are telling the compiler to initialize or to allocate a memory for inner class members and store the data into the inner class members. Okay. So unless and until you are using this new keyword and calling a constructor of inner class, same thing, no memory will be allocated because it is again instance class, you can say. Clear? Okay, then we will end our session for today here. We will continue in the next session with the next points, next type of inner classes. Thank you, everyone. Sir, you may stop recording. You may end the meeting.